The dining room was filled with warmth, the sound of cutlery clinking, and bursts of laughter circling the table. Candles flickered against the walls, casting a glow that made the evening feel almost magical. Almost. Because in the middle of my mother's 60th birthday dinner, her words cut sharper than any knife resting beside the plates. "Claire, you'll never be like your sister, Anna. She's the one who keeps this family together." The laughter vanished instantly. Forks froze midair. My chest tightened as if invisible hands were squeezing the breath from me. Every buried scar I carried, every whispered comparison I had endured for years, came crashing back with brutal force. My hands trembled as I pushed my chair back, my voice shaky but burning with fire. "If that's how you see it," I said, my words slicing through the stunned silence, "then let Anna pay every bill. I'm done. I won't send another dollar." Gasps filled the room, a ripple of disbelief spreading across faces once lit with smiles. My mother's eyes widened, her hand clutching her glass so hard I thought it might shatter. "What money?" she demanded. Her voice shook, but her disbelief felt like an accusation. The room tilted, my ears rang. My entire body stiffened as relatives turned their heads toward me. Anna's smirk faltered ever so slightly, her polished mask beginning to crack, and in that suffocating silence, I knew that the truth I had hidden for years was finally clawing its way into the open. I wasn't always this fiery, ready to speak out in front of a room. Growing up in a small Midwestern town, I wanted nothing more than to believe I was loved the same as my sister. But deep inside, I always knew better. My parents adored Anna. She was the golden girl, graceful, magnetic, the one neighbors praised with sparkling eyes whenever they stopped by. "Oh, Anna is so talented," they would say, their admiration almost worshipful. And then there was me, quiet Claire, tucked in the corner with a book, waiting for someone to notice me but never truly being seen. I still remember a Christmas when I was 12 years old. I had worked for weeks in shop class, carving and painting a wooden jewelry box for my mother. My small hands ached from sanding the edges, but when I wrapped it, hope filled me. I believed, for once, she would be proud. That morning, Anna opened her gift, a glittering necklace from Dad. The room erupted in delight, cheers echoing off the walls. Then, it was my turn. I handed over the box with trembling fingers. Mom opened it, glanced for less than a heartbeat, and dismissed it with words that carved into me deeper than the sharpest blade. "That's nice, Claire. But you should spend more time helping Anna with her routines instead of wasting hours on little projects." I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing a smile no one cared enough to notice. That night, lying in the dark, I pressed my face into the pillow and cried silently, vowing I would never again show how much it hurt. School offered no refuge. Teachers adored Anna with the same unshakable devotion. I overheard one of them once, during a conference, praising her as a natural-born leader. Then, almost as an afterthought, they mentioned me. "Claire does fine, but she's too quiet. She should learn from Anna." Mom repeated those words in the car ride home. "Did you hear that, Claire? Why can't you learn from your sister?" I stared out the window, whispering so softly no one could hear. "I'm not Anna," but my protest dissolved in the air, unheard, unnoticed. I loved my sister in my own way, but every comparison chipped at my spirit, brick by brick, until I felt like a ghost living in my own home. I didn't try to compete. Instead, I found solace in things that asked nothing from me: books, old computers my dad had bought from garage sales, messy codes that somehow brought me peace, while Anna's laughter echoed on stages and across classrooms. I hid in the glow of screens, my quiet world one of wires and circuits. But late at night, no matter how many lines of code I typed, a question gnawed at me. Would I ever be enough? Or would I always be just Anna's sister? High school was supposed to be my escape, a chance to finally step into my own skin without constantly being measured against Anna. But instead, it became a stage where her spotlight blazed even brighter. She was everywhere: captain of the cheer squad, leader of the prom committee, star of the theater club. Her laughter carried down the halls, drawing everyone in like moths to a flame. Teachers adored her. Classmates begged to sit next to her. And me? I was the girl tucked into the back row, scribbling notes in silence, or hidden in the computer lab, helping fix laptops no one else could figure out. Invisible, the spring talent show is burned into my memory like a scar. I had worked for weeks with the science club on a small robot. Nothing extraordinary, but it could follow commands and pick up objects. It was mine, and I was proud. Standing backstage, clutching the controller in my sweaty palms, I overheard whispers ripple through the crowd. Anna's performing a dance routine. It's going to be amazing. Wait, Claire's in the show too? Their surprise stung more than the words themselves. The curtain rose, and Anna danced beneath the lights like she was born to be there. Her every move was flawless, her smile dazzling, the applause thunderous enough to shake the walls. When it was my turn, my robot whirred to life, rolled across the stage, picked up a cup, and dropped it neatly into a bin. It worked perfectly. But the audience clapped politely, as though out of obligation. Then I looked to where my parents should have been sitting. The seats were empty. My stomach knotted, but I performed anyway. Later that night, I learned why. Your sister had cheer practice, Mom explained casually. We didn't want her to walk home alone. I stared at her, my voice cracking. But it was the talent show. Don't be so dramatic, Claire, Dad muttered. We'll catch the next one. But there wasn't a next one, not for them at least. Each report card, each holiday dinner, sharpened the blade of comparison. Dad would beam, holding up Anna's grades. She's a natural. Mine were good too. Solid A's and B's. But when I showed them, Mom would sigh. If only you had her confidence. One afternoon, after yet another round of, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" something in me snapped. "Because I'm not Anna," I shouted, my voice shaking with years of swallowed anger. The room went silent. For a moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, they had finally heard me. But Mom only shook her head, disappointment etched into her face. "There's no need to yell, Claire. Just try harder." I stormed upstairs, my eyes burning with tears. In my journal that night, I wrote the words that had become my truth. No matter what I do, it will never be enough. Still, in the hum of computer fans and the glow of screens, I found solace. In circuits and code, there were no comparisons, no favorites, just logic, order, and the simple reassurance that I could create something of my own. Leaving for college felt like breaking free from a cage I hadn't realized was locked. I was accepted into the computer engineering program at the University of Michigan. For the first time, I could breathe without Anna's shadow pressing down on me. My hands shook as I packed my bags, half excited, half terrified. At the airport, Mom hugged Anna longer than she hugged me. "Take care of yourself, Claire," she said distractedly. "And remember, confidence is just as important as intelligence." I nodded, but inside, the words echoed like a cruel reminder. No matter what, it'll never be enough for you, will it? College was brutal. Tuition, rent, books, it all piled up until I thought I would collapse under the weight. I worked 2 part-time jobs. Mornings in the campus cafe, nights fixing computers in the library. Some nights, I fell into bed at 3 in the morning, only to drag myself up again at 7. But for the first time, exhaustion carried with it something new. Pride. Every dollar I earned was mine. Every assignment finished was proof that I could survive without applause, without comparisons. Meanwhile, Anna's world began to unravel. She had enrolled at a community college but dropped out after 1 semester, claiming classes were boring and beneath her. She jumped from one idea to the next, an online boutique, managing a social media account, even dabbling in a pyramid scheme. And through it all, my parents kept nodding, convinced she was on the brink of greatness. One evening, Mom called me. Her voice brimmed with the pride I had longed to hear. Anna's meeting with investors tomorrow. She might launch a business. Isn't that exciting? I gripped the phone tighter, my chest aching. That's great, Mom. By the way, I got an internship at a tech company this summer. Silence. Then a half-hearted, "That's nice, Claire. Just keep being independent, okay? Independent." That word became a code I couldn't escape. It didn't mean they were proud. It meant they didn't expect much. Just survive. Manage on your own. But I kept pushing. I coded until my eyes blurred, aced my courses, and poured everything into proving to myself, if not to them, that I had worth. Graduation day arrived with the weight of years pressing down on me. As I walked across the stage in my cap and gown, diploma clutched tight, the applause of strangers filled the hall. For a fleeting moment, I let myself believe that things might finally change. That perhaps this would be the day my parents would look at me with pride. I searched the crowd as my name was called. My parents clapped politely, their cheers barely louder than a whisper. No roaring applause, no tears of joy, just a muted acknowledgement that I had done well. Compared to the thunderous pride they had once shown at Anna's cheerleading competitions, it felt hollow. Still, I forced a smile, whispering to myself, "This is mine. No one can take it away from me." Not long after, I landed my first job as a junior software engineer at a growing tech company in Detroit. The city hummed with possibility, every streetlight glowing with the promise of opportunity. My salary wasn't huge, but it was steady enough to cover rent, groceries, and even save a little. For once, I felt like I was stepping into my own life, free from shadows. Then came the phone call that unraveled everything. "Claire." Mom's voice trembled on the line. "Your father, the doctor says he can't work anymore. His lungs after all those years at the factory." I sank into my desk chair, my heart twisting painfully. "What about you, Mom?" I had to cut back my hours. "Between his medicine, the bills, it's overwhelming. I don't know how we'll manage." I didn't hesitate. "I'll help. Don't worry about the money." And so it began. Each month, I sent $2,000, sometimes $2,500 home. But there was a complication. Mom hated online banking. "It's too complicated," she insisted each time I tried to teach her. That's when Anna, still living nearby, stepped in with her easy charm. "Just send it to me," she suggested lightly. "I'll cash it out and give it to them. Simple." I hesitated, my gut twisted, but she laughed. "Come on, Claire, don't you trust your own sister?" Against my better judgment, I agreed. My life in Detroit became a cycle of long hours at work, bare-bones meals, and skipped outings so I could send more money home. Every time I tapped transfer on my phone, I pictured Mom buying Dad's medicine, fixing the leaky roof, or paying the electric bill. I told myself the sacrifices were worth it. Meanwhile, Anna's life looked like it belonged to someone living in a different universe. Her social media brimmed with glamour designer dresses, brunches on rooftop patios, vacations that glittered with extravagance. Boss life, one caption read beneath a photo of her posing next to a new SUV. I brushed away my unease, convincing myself that maybe one of her business ventures had finally worked. Still, doubt nagged at me, whispering late at night when I stared at my ceiling in the dark. Mom would call, sighing about how high the electricity bill was, or how Dad's medicine was draining them. I bit my lip, staring at the empty fridge, knowing I had skipped meals just to send them more. "I'll increase it next month," I promised, my voice tight with worry. "Don't stress." When the call ended, I whispered into the quiet of my apartment. "As long as they're okay, that's all that matters." But deep down, a storm was brewing. Anna's posts grew even more extravagant: champagne brunches, luxury watches, weekend getaways. My chest tightened with every photo. How could she afford this? I wanted to believe she had finally built a stable life, but another voice whispered a darker possibility. What if the money I was sending wasn't reaching my parents at all? One evening, my boyfriend Daniel noticed me pushing food around my plate, barely eating. "You're distracted again," he said gently. I sighed. "It's Anna. Something doesn't feel right. She's been showing off new cars, expensive clothes. I don't know where it's coming from." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Claire, are you sure she's giving your parents the money you send?" The question cut deep. "Of course she is," I snapped, too quickly, my voice betraying me. "She wouldn't lie about that." His tone softened, steady and firm. "You trust her, I get it. But trust without proof can be dangerous. Maybe you should ask your mom directly." I shook my head. "I don't want to hurt them. If they think I'm checking up, it'll seem like I don't trust Anna. And despite everything, she's still my sister." But later that night, as I lay awake, his words circled in my mind like a warning bell. Weeks slipped by, but the unease never left me. The harder I worked, the heavier the weight became. Deadlines piled up, coding marathons stretched late into the night, and exhaustion clung to me like a second skin. Still, I kept sending the transfers. Still, I kept convincing myself Anna wouldn't betray me like that. But her life online told a different story. One week, she flaunted a weekend getaway at a luxury resort, cocktail in hand, her wrist gleaming with a watch I knew cost more than my rent. The next, she posed in front of a brand new car, the caption dripping with self-congratulation. "Dreams don't work unless you do." My chest burned as I scrolled, my heart pounding louder than the hum of my computer. The doubt grew louder, refusing to be silenced. Then came the family video call. Mom appeared on the screen, her face weary, her hand rubbing her temples. "Your father's medicine went up again. I don't know how we'll manage this month," she said softly. The words burst out of me before I could stop them. "Didn't Anna give you the money I sent last week?" Mom frowned. "Money? No, sweetheart. Anna helps us when she can, but it isn't much. Don't worry about it, we'll be fine." My pulse hammered in my ears. Not much? I had wired nearly $3,000 that month. "Claire, are you still there?" Mom's voice broke through the static. I forced a shaky smile. "Yeah, Mom, I'm here. I'll send extra next month, okay?" When the call ended, I sat frozen in silence. Daniel's words came back, heavy and unrelenting. Are you sure she's giving them the money? I wanted to storm into Anna's world that very second. Demand answers. Claw the truth out of her polished facade. But fear held me back. Fear of shattering what little bond we had left. Fear of confirming the betrayal I wasn't ready to face. So I told myself, later. I'll deal with it later. For now, I had to keep going for Mom, for Dad. But the truth has a way of clawing its way to the surface, no matter how hard you try to bury it. When Mom's 60th birthday rolled around, I told myself this would be the bridge to healing. I spent weeks saving up for her gift. A digital camera with a simple interface. Something she'd once mentioned wanting for her garden. Daniel helped me wrap it in pale blue paper, her favorite color, and together we flew back home to Ohio. The house smelled of roasted chicken and vanilla cake when we walked in. Relatives filled the living room. Their laughter a hum of familiarity. Anna sparkled in a sequined dress. Her makeup flawless, her presence magnetic as always. Mom greeted me with a quick, polite hug. Before turning immediately to Anna. Honey, can you help me with the candles? The familiar sting twisted inside me, but I forced a smile. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. It'll be okay, he whispered. Dinner began with cheerful chatter and clinking glasses, but as the evening wore on, the same old script returned like a ghost refusing to stay buried. Aunt Carol leaned toward Anna, her eyes glowing. You're such a good daughter, Anna. Sending money every month to take care of your parents. Not everyone would do that. Laughter and nods of agreement followed. Uncle George chuckled. This family's lucky to have you. The words struck like shards of glass. My fork slipped from my fingers, clattering against the plate. Daniel's grip on my hand tightened, urging me to stay calm. But then Mom spoke. And her words shattered the fragile dam inside me. Claire, why can't you be more like your sister? She takes care of us. You should learn from her. The comparisons, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights spent working to send money home. It all came crashing down, unbearable and raw. I shoved my chair back, the screech against tile silencing the room. My voice shook, but it was sharp, unyielding. If that's the case, I said, my eyes locked on Mom's. Then let Anna pay all the bills. I'm done. I won't send another $1. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mom's face went pale. What money? She demanded, her voice trembling with disbelief. We've never received a single dollar from you. The room spun. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone. With trembling fingers, I opened my banking app, scrolling through endless transfers 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 each marked with notes. For Mom and Dad. I held the screen up for all to see. The silence that followed was suffocating. Anna's smirk disappeared, panic flickering across her perfect mask. The air in the room thickened until it felt impossible to breathe. Uncles, aunts, cousins, all of them stared at the glowing screen in my hand. Their smiles wiped away. Their chatter dissolved into suffocating silence. Uncle George leaned forward, his brows drawn tight. Anna, what's going on here? Aunt Carol's voice trembled as she whispered, My God. Daniel rose from his chair and stood beside me, his voice calm but steady, carrying a weight the room could not ignore. Claire has been supporting her parents for years. She never wanted recognition, but it's time everyone knows the truth. Mom's lips quivered as she stared at the screen. Her gaze snapped to Anna. You told us this money was from you. You said you were providing for us. Anna's face flushed crimson. her eyes darting desperately around the room for an escape. She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally stammered, I didn't mean to. I just borrowed some. I was going to pay it back. Borrowed? Dad's frail voice cut through the suffocating silence, every syllable dripping with disappointment. For years? What did you do with it? Anna's eyes filled with panic, her hands twisting in her lap. I needed it for debts, for appearances. I only gave you a little each month so you'd think I was the good daughter. Her voice cracked, collapsing into a whisper. I didn't want to be a failure. The weight of her confession crashed onto the room like a collapsing roof. Relatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Aunt Carol set her teacup down with a sharp clink, the sound cutting like a blade. Anger and heartbreak collided inside me, hot tears pricking my eyes. I stared at Anna, searching for the sister who once braided my hair, who whispered secrets to me under the covers at night. But all I saw was someone I no longer recognized. Mom buried her face in her hands. Her voice cracked as she spoke, trembling with shame. Claire, I'm so sorry. We accused you, compared you, and all this time. Dad's eyes glistened as he tried to speak, his voice broken. I was blind. Proud of Anna, blind to what you were doing. I never asked. I never saw you. I should have seen you. The child in me wanted to crumble into their arms, to finally feel seen, to finally hear words of love. But the woman I had become knew this was my moment to draw a line. I straightened, my voice steady even as my heart thundered. I love you both. That's why I sent the money. But things cannot go back to the way they were. If I'm going to keep helping, there have to be rules. Every pair of eyes turned to me. Even Anna looked up, guilt written across her face. First, I said firmly. No more comparisons. I am not Anna. And I never will be. I am Claire. If you can't see me for who I am, then I can't keep breaking myself to earn your approval. Mom nodded vigorously, tears spilling down her face. Never again, sweetheart. I promise. Second, I continued, my voice unwavering. Everything must be transparent. I'll send money directly to you, or I'll pay bills myself. No more middlemen. No more confusion. Dad's voice was hoarse but resolute. Agreed. We'll set it up however you say. No more secrets. I drew a deep breath and spoke the third rule. And Anna has to take responsibility. She cannot keep pretending while I carry the weight alone. Anna flinched, shame painting her features. Her lips trembled as she whispered. You're right. I've been selfish. I wanted to look perfect even when I was drowning. I stole from you, Claire. I lied to them, to everyone. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'll change. I'll get a real job. I'll contribute for real this time. A heavy silence followed her words. For the first time in years, Anna looked small, not the untouchable golden child, but a woman stripped of her illusions. I exhaled slowly, my chest aching. Words won't fix this, Anna. Only actions will. You want to change? Prove it. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she nodded. I will. Around us, relatives shifted uneasily. Aunt Carol murmured, I never knew, Claire. I judged you wrongly. Uncle George added quietly, You've carried more than any of us realized. But their words barely registered. All I felt was exhaustion, years of swallowed pain spilling out in a single night. Daniel's hand brushed mine, grounding me, steady and warm. You did what needed to be done, he whispered. I met his eyes, and for the first time, I believed him. Speaking up wasn't about humiliating Anna. It wasn't about demanding apologies. It was about reclaiming my worth. Mom reached across the table, her grip trembling as she took my hand. "I don't deserve your forgiveness," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But I'll spend the rest of my life making this right." For the first time in a long time, I believed her. The birthday cake sat untouched. Candles melted into puddles of wax. The celebration had turned into a reckoning, painful, yes, but necessary. That night, as I walked upstairs to my old bedroom, I caught sight of my reflection in the mirror. My shoulders were straight, my eyes steady, and for the first time, I didn't see Anna's shadow staring back at me. I saw myself. Claire. No longer invisible. The weeks after that night moved like a storm breaking into calm skies. Back in Detroit, I slipped into my usual routine: early mornings, long hours at the office, late nights spent with the quiet hum of my computer. But something had changed. The heaviness that had sat on my chest for years no longer suffocated me. For the first time, I was living without the constant weight of comparison pressing down on my shoulders. Mom began calling me often, her voice softer, her words gentler than I had ever known. She asked about my projects, about the long hours I spent debugging code or preparing for meetings. One evening she said, "Being an engineer must be tough. I don't know how you do it." Her tone carried genuine curiosity, not dismissal, and for a moment, I had to steady my breath. For years I had longed for words like that: simple acknowledgement, simple interest. Hearing them now, I almost cried. Dad, too, began to shift. I heard from neighbors that he introduced me proudly as my daughter Claire, the software engineer in Michigan. His voice still carried the awkwardness of a man unpracticed in speaking my name with pride, but it warmed me all the same. The biggest surprise came from Anna. She took a job at a local design firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. Each month, she sent a small contribution home, not thousands, not even hundreds beyond a modest sum, but it was honest. And for the first time, her phone calls with me carried no polished facade, no overblown promises. Just quiet words like, "I'm trying, Claire. I know I have a lot to make up for." For the first time in years, I believed her. Daniel remained by my side through it all, patient and steady. One evening, we walked through a quiet park, the air cool and still, the city lights flickering in the distance. He squeezed my hand gently. "You did the hardest thing anyone can do," he said. "You spoke the truth, even when it hurt. That takes courage, Claire." I leaned into him, the night wrapping around us. I just couldn't live in her shadow anymore. I had to step out. Looking back, I realized something simple. Something I had carried without words for so long. Family love cannot survive on favoritism or lies. It shrivels under comparisons. But it can heal with honesty, with respect, with truth. I no longer wanted to be known as Anna's sister. I was Claire Matthews. A daughter, a sister, a woman who had fought to be seen. And finally, I was. If you've ever been in someone's shadow, if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I want you to hear me now. You are more than the comparisons, more than the dismissals. Speak your truth. Step into your light. Because no matter what anyone tells you, you are enough.